Thank you.
And welcome everybody to this meeting of the Scrutiny Committee of South Oxfordshire District Council. I'm Councillor Sam Casey Rarewright and I'll be chairing of this meeting this evening. The first item on the agenda is chair's announcements. I don't have any chair's announcements. We have apologies for absence from Councillor Khan, who hasn't been able to send a substitute. We haven't had any other apologies, so we're still expecting a couple of people to come. So maybe they get stuck in traffic or something. And the next item is minutes of the last meeting. To adopt and sign as correct. For the correct record, the committee minutes of the meeting held on the 4th of April.
Yeah, I'll do.
Is everybody happy with the minutes? Has anybody got any comments?
I wasn't there, so I can't really comment, to be honest.
Okay, likewise. Okay, so there's 3 of us. I don't have any comments on the. Okay, so would somebody like to propose that we accept the minutes as a record? Seconded. Thank you. Item 4 is declaration of interest. To receive the declarations of disclosable continuing interest, other registrable interests, and non-registrable interests, or any conflicts of interest in respect of items on the agenda for the meeting. Item 5, urgent business. I don't have any urgent business. I don't think there is any other urgent business. And item 6 is public participation, but we have. So item 7, we're going to look at the work schedule and dates for all the
one question.
meeting.
We're going to discuss callings. Also, this form that we meant to fill.
Yeah, so I thought we could discuss it under item 7. So this item that we're on now.
Okay, that's fine.
Regarding call-ins, I have emailed the leader of Councillor Philippa Rivers. She said she's going to look into it. That's all I've heard so far from her. I will be chasing her up on that and maybe have a discussion on that. But until I hear something back from her, I don't think there's anything we can do right now unless you want to propose something.
I'd like to make a comment on that. This is the call-ins.
Yeah.
Yeah. If we're offered call-ins from Cabinet, some we can't call in, some we're told we can call in. I think you called one in and you were denied. I definitely called one in and I was denied. I would suggest that we do something like we do on planning. When someone proposes refusal, they may put some woolly reasons forward. And then the officers will kind of help us out on what would be acceptable. And then it would change. And eventually you put the recommendation forward for refusal on 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. With this one at the moment, they just say, no, it's not acceptable. They don't say why it's not acceptable or what you could do to make it acceptable. But don't offer me it and then turn me down. I don't think that's acceptable. We are either running this council, no disrespect, Tim, we are either running this council or we're not running it. Now, if you're going to tell me we're not running it any longer, fine, I know where I stand. But if we're running the council and making decisions, which the officers obviously give us the information to do that, I think we should run it. But I just feel that I'm being dictated to by certain officers, and I don't feel good about it.
I think we have aired this before, and I did say I'd speak to Councillor Philippa Rivers about it. I think so far I haven't heard from her. I don't know if anyone else wants to add anything in that. I mean, when you say run the council, I suppose I've just put the caveat that we're running the council in terms of councillors and the Cabinet run the council, not the Scrutiny Committee, and we hold the Cabinet to account. And the Cabinet run it on a strategic level, not on a day-to-day level. Councillor Wayne.
Back Councillor Arlett upon this. I think we just need some clarity about what things we can call in, on what circumstances, and if we found then an explanation why. It seems perfectly reasonable to me. Don't know why it's taking so long to answer.
No, it's taking so long. Either. Councillor Ramsden.
Yeah, I mean, I'd support it as well, and just in terms of our members running the council, we are all elected members,
Yeah, indeed.
and I mean, I'm not going to go into any examples, and it's not really for this committee, but I do feel at times that we contact officers about certain things, and it feels that we're inconveniencing them, and they spend more time explaining why they can't help with a particular thing rather than forming a decent communication and working together to say. I mean, Ken, you've made the comment. This is where we stand. We can't help you, and these are the reasons why. Rather than just being made to feel a nuisance because I raised the question in the first place. My view.
Okay, yes, well, go on, Councillor Toppings.
Yes, just to say my experience being with officers has been universally very positive. But I do agree with Ken on this instance that we should very much be given reasons if we do try and call something in as to why that's not possible. And I think it's a very sensible suggestion.
Sorry, my comments weren't about every officer. Most of them have been quite responsible.
And around back, I mean, we're just talking about calling. Yeah.
Sorry.
Callings rather than widening it, not widening it at all. Up to that. And I think we've all expressed our opinion very clearly, and I think there is no reason for it. There's no good reason for delay, and I think I'm definitely be calling in. So with Councillor Philip Rivers, the leader of the council, and I think it's quite clear how we feel about it. So thank you. The next point, thank you, is the form. Now, this form came out of, as you know, and we've had this email discussion to a certain extent, this form came out of the scrutiny review that took place last year, and I came in as chair halfway through that review, or near the end of it, really. I think what I emailed back to you was that we need some specifics, certainly, about what you want to change around that form. I personally think that form is a good idea because it can focus our mind. Doesn't mean that the form is great or that it's as we should have it. We can let's change it if we want to. I do think that maybe a committee meeting is not the time to talk about the minutiae of the form, and that should be taken outside. But please go ahead and say what you want to say.
Well, I've read all through this report again.
Yeah,
I've referred to items 5 to 7 and they don't say what I think somebody thinks they say. But what annoyed me more than anything, I went and put an item on the agenda, and then someone said, "Have you filled the form in?" And I said, "Sorry, what form are we talking about?" "Oh, there's a new form." Well, surely this form here, which comes back to the scrutiny, who's running the scrutiny? Is it the councillors? Is it the officers? Now, I think it should be the councillors with advice from the officers. Sometimes the officers advice be saying the wrong thing. Okay, fine, you're right, and I'll move on. But this form here, which I hadn't seen, I didn't have a clue what I was being talking about. At one time, we would meet like we are today, and we'd say, "Is there any chance of putting so and so on the next agenda? It's because of A, B, C, and C, and D." But this here is, I say, it's obviously officer led. Have you had any input in this?
I was asked if I thought it was all right, and I said I think let's see how it goes. Is my answer to it, because I think it's a little bit. Yeah. It actually sounds like what you give to another officer, not an accountant.
Just one item I can get through. Item 7: witnesses, consultees, stakeholder requested. Come on, please. That's typical jargon, dare I say, and this is not at the officers. It's typical what an officer would write. It's definitely not what councillor would write. And I think you could simplify this so simple. I'd like to put on so and so because of A, B, C, D. I'm really sorry.
Part of the review did point out that we needed training, which I think we've had, and one of them was that we can call witnesses and we can do whole reviews ourselves, and we don't have to rely on officer reports. And I think that's what those sections, some of them, are referring to. So it's not, as a scrutiny committee, it's not all about us just getting reports from officers. We can do a lot more than that. We can have a task and finish group, we can get the answers, etc., etc. And there hasn't been much appetite for that, which is fine. You don't have to do it, of course. But I think a discussion about what you think is wrong specifically with the form. If you think that having a form is wrong, well, that's what's been agreed as a review. I'm not sure we're going to change that. I don't have this laptop to change that unless we all vote for that. But what are you proposing here?
I propose
We just change it.
I propose we do away with the form and we just come to a meeting today and on item, whichever one you want to put on the agenda. If anybody wishes to put an item forward, they do, or alternatively, they write to you, giving a reason why. You can obviously speak to an officer then.
Well, I think the form wasn't to prevent us putting things on. It was that we suggest to put things on, and then we go away and try and flesh out exactly what it is we want to get out of the officers' report.
How many forms have been filled in?
3, I think. Because I've done 2, and someone else who I can't remember has got my sequence. 2 Cooper. Yeah, thank you.
I'll leave you. That's my view.
Any other views?
Well, I think I remember the discussion. Well, I've only just joined the scrutiny committee, so I wasn't part of the detailed discussions previously, but I've certainly attended the training. And I do recall that there was a real sense of frustration around the scrutiny table that we wanted to look into issues that did involve external parties. So whether it was a health representative or Thames Water, I think was always a good example of where, you know, we felt that we could usefully have a session scrutinising them or one of their representatives, and that we didn't have a good mechanism for structuring that and for articulating that. I suspect, I confess I haven't had a very detailed look at the form recently, but I suspect it could be that we've just maybe gone a bit too far and it's got a bit too complicated, or that it's got kind of everything you could possibly want to ask in a form, rather than saying, well, what do you actually need to ask? And maybe if we could be clear which bits of it kind of are required and which bits are optional extras. So maybe, you know, a sort of cut down version, but the opportunity to add more evidence. Because I know from talking to officers that sometimes it is, you know, the request can be so vague that it's like, well, you want a report on planning, well, which bit of it, you know. So I can understand why that would help officers prepare well for these meetings. So I wouldn't vote to ditch it completely, but I would vote for a review. And you know, maybe some worked examples that will show us how it could be best used.
I agree. It is restricted. You feel restricted when you look at that. And I think the point is that I was told you don't have to fill it all in. And then you go, oh, well, that's actually quite true. How's the topic?
Just to say, I agree with Andrea.
How's Rowan?
I was taught how to fill forms in by my father-in-law, who filled his tax forms in by crossing out boxes and rewriting questions. I think we're at the suck it and see stage, aren't we? I mean, I haven't tried to fill one of these forms in, I'm new to this committee, but we'll come up with something. Let's try it. Can we set a date when we come back and say whether we like it or not?
Why do we have a task and finish group?
No, let's not.
Let's form a committee.
Just set a date when we can have a quick vote amongst us once we've had a chance to try it out, saying yes, we like this or no, we don't. But at the moment, I don't think any of us got enough experience to say whether we like it or not.
Well, I always feel like setting a date to review it is almost like making it too big a thing. I mean, it could be better if we just did this. I think this should go coming out of this. You know, it's simple as that. But
Before the next meeting.
I'll do it for them. That's your answer.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the process of what happens to the form once it's been completed, and what's the process.
Democratic services, and then they distribute it to the officer who for that area.
And then they make a decision.
And then they don't make a decision. They then see if they can discuss it with the scrutiny member about what it exactly is that they want. to come to scrutiny.
And then who makes the decision that it should go to scrutiny?
Indeed, it's the scrutiny committee design, and we
Right.
discussed it here when we look at the work group.
Right. So the form's filled in, goes to democratic services, discussed with the officer. The officer says, yeah, we can get Thames Water along, which I think is a great idea. And then the member says, yes, this sounds great. So we then take it to scrutiny committee where we're discussing the work programme and we decide for them to work programme.
Yes,
Thank you.
with events, exactly. And then in theory, the officer here or Thames Water or whoever it is knows what we're trying to get out of them specifically, rather than just a vague.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Come and talk to us about sewage. That's lovely.
Absolutely, do on the form. I mean, I haven't had the experience of obviously filling the form in, but I think everything that's been said, I think it's to enact the process of what goes onto the work programme. It's about what works best. So if there's an opportunity to review what works best.
I can always put not applicable.
Well, I was
bits you don't like.
NAL 7 out of the 8. Let's see what then took place.
Okay, so
Well, thank you.
is that okay?
Yeah.
Is that, we're getting somewhere
Yeah,
with that.
thank you.
So the work programme, as you see, has got some other things added to it. If you go to the online one, you'll see there's actually some other things added to it as well. Planning enforcement update that we asked about, scheduled for September, and empty homes report coming in. Not sure yet. Yeah, not sure. I'm not sure about disabled grant facilities yet, but they're on the work programme because we asked for those to go on. And the other ones are, as you can see, fixed budget setting, relative boundaries.
Can I ask a question? This is for my own benefit, really. And it's probably set out in the Constitution somewhere, but I wasn't sure. I was surprised that we weren't looking at the JLP discussions tonight. And then it was communicated to me that, oh, well, that's a cabinet, not a council. So was it the way around? It's a council. So is that the case, therefore, that a full council issue does not come to scrutiny? Is that part of our constitution, or is that just customer practice? Is it because all councillors get the opportunity to debate it at a full council? That's the principle, yeah.
And can vote against it.
And can vote against it.
Yeah.
Thank you. So essentially, we're looking at scrutinising decisions made or decisions to be made at cabinet, but only cabinet. Yeah. No other committees.
No.
Okay, right. Thank you.
And it occurred to me, our item today is on the performance of the council from last year, and it did occur to me that this could throw up some ideas and issues. We look at that performance plan, that bear that in mind, that it could be calling into scrutiny.
We've certainly done that in the past.
Yes, exactly. So just bear that in mind, that that's a possibility, and we might have to fill in a form of that. Any comments on the work plan? Anything else you want to add, or think you might want to add?
I've only one thing. We've got dates for a committee meeting in September on the work plan and then one in February, but there are other meetings, aren't there? I assume there are no agenda items. Are there other
meetings?
Yeah, September, November, then February.
So the agenda items will come along.
Yes. And one of those or two of those items could go to those. Anything else on the work programme? Shall we move on then? Right. So do you want somebody so I can propose this work programme is acceptable? Somebody wants to second it? Thank you, Councillor Fowler. Everyone will agree. I'm happy with the work programme. All of us are. It's 9th of November. Thank you. 9th of November is there's a meeting. Rich. Right, so item 8, update on recommendations from previous scrutiny meetings. I believe that Matthew's got a few for us.
So at our last meeting, we discussed the corporate asset management framework. Cabinet accepted and acted upon Scrutiny's recommendations, primarily by strengthening the explicit wording within the framework to reinforce commitments to social and environmental value and stakeholder engagement. On the housing delivery strategy, Cabinet welcomed and accepted all of Scrutiny's comments. With regard to the Broadway item, that item was actually considered in confidential session by Cabinet. So what I'll do is I've got some notes here and I'll circulate them to members after the meeting.
Any comments on those? So that substantive item this evening is item 9, the annual delivery plan performance report for 2025-26. And we are asked to consider the report from the Director of Policy and Programmes to review the emerging annual delivery plan end of year report. And that's all. So I welcome Cabinet member for this, Councillor Mike Giles. If you'd like to introduce it to us, please.
Yeah, thank you. And Chair, if you'll just indulge me for a minute, just on Councillor Arlett's points. I mean, I just want to clarify that I don't think it's the army of Sir Humphreys running around trying to stifle Councillor Arlett. This council is very much run in collaboration between officers and the councillors in the Cabinet. We're very grateful to them all for their hard work. But I do sympathise with the specific point around wanting to get some clarity when you're told no to something as to why. But I just want to reassure you that I think officers have got better things to do than trying to stifle your agenda.
Sorry, can you just add a little bit more to that? Sorry, what you just made there.
I think officers have got a lot more important things to do than trying to stifle your agenda.
What agenda have I got? Sorry.
Well, whatever activity you wish to do.
If you just said agenda, there must be something. You made a comment about the agenda. I haven't got a hidden agenda. I just made a couple of comments at the meeting this evening. I haven't got a hidden agenda.
Thank you, Councillor Giles. Can we just move to the annual report?
Very happily to do. Thank you, Chair. So last time I was here, we were discussing looking forward in terms of our activity, and obviously today, Chair, we're here to discuss what happened up until earlier this year, the last sort of 12 months up until the end of March 2026. And before you today is a draft report. We obviously welcome feedback from the committee, either today or following from there, and a report will follow down the line. I'll just very briefly just talk about some of the highlights of it. I mean, clearly as an administration, we want to be as open and transparent as we possibly can. And I feel that we've gone above and beyond what the vast majority of councils will be doing with this. I think it's a testament to what we were doing under Councillor Owain, and we're trying to carry on and go beyond what we were doing there under the new leadership. So hopefully that will be welcomed by the committee. So specifically on the 5 areas that we're covering, firstly on action on climate change and nature recovery, we've managed to increase the number of amount of council-owned land managed for nature recovery from 39% to 44% over the year. We've reduced greenhouse gas emissions by 14% compared to the baseline from a few years ago. 93% of council homes currently achieve a EPC of C or above, and we've now got a council-owned home with a renewable energy system. We've got a target to go beyond that moving forward to 27-28. In terms of thriving, healthy and inclusive communities, we've had thousands of people participating in our Move Together programme, with again over 2,000 families engaging with our You Move initiative. 8 improvement projects across our leisure and community infrastructure. Some of you may well have seen some of the improvements to one of the leisure centres recently on our social accounts. Some of the bathrooms are radically improved. Providing support for local businesses and holding a host of equalities roadshows around the district, which is obviously something that's many of us feel passionately about. In terms of homes infrastructure, we have installed 62 EV chargers and we have built 279 new and affordable homes have been delivered by RPs, which has exceeded the target by a substantial amount. And we've also been able to rehouse successfully 226 Ukrainian and Afghan households over the period. In terms of financial stability, obviously we passed the budget earlier this year, which was in surplus, and we spoke at length about that. And I think that's a tribute to Councillor Peter Barker and all the officers who worked incredibly hard on that. Clearly, it's challenging for officers and everyone at the moment with the Labour government's imposed local government reorganisation and the pressure that puts on staffing and indeed the government's decision to make us create two local plans at the same time, which I think many of us would find bizarre. But there we are. But nevertheless, we've managed to bring in over £2 million of external funding. We've helped over 32,000 residents with their accessibility online, which I know is important to not here today, but Councillor Turner. And 81% of calls are answered within 21 seconds by our customer service team, which I think again is a pretty strong number, all things said. And just finally on participation, accessibility and accountability. All of our meetings are now online and accessible following the live streaming of council meetings, which has obviously been something that a few of us have wished for some time. We're getting a lot more engagement with our newsletter, which is very positive, and we're obviously responding to having responses to lots of different public consultations and taking back feedback from residents on board. So putting this forward today to the group and welcome any comments you may have.
Thank you. And in terms of other cabinet members here, because I mean, I'm just aware that a performance plan for the whole council will cover all areas of the council, but you're here just speaking on your own, I believe. So you may have to take just a warning if there are some specific questions. I expect you'll have to take some away. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I mean, Tim and I will do our best to answer it as comprehensively as we can, but it may well be to refer to other cabinet members who can come back to you on specifics. Yeah.
Thank you. Right, so let's open it up to some questions and comments. Councillor Powell.
Thank you. Thanks very much for the report. Lots of great stuff going on. A few things to dig into a bit, but I've got quite a list and I won't go through them all to begin with. But can I just clarify about the time frame, because it says that this performance report actually covers a 9-month period, doesn't it? Because of the change to the reporting cycle. So were the targets also adjusted to be 9 months targets, or are they annual targets? So because where we fallen short of targets, is that because we had a longer period over which could you just clarify the targets matching the delivery report?
Can I get Tim to answer this specific one for me?
Yeah, so there's a variety of things obviously in the report, and you've got the colour coding in there. So there will be some targets that would be for the current year. There would obviously be some that would be put beyond the reporting period as well. So that could be considerably into the future. So there's a variety of things are in there. So it's not a case of just changing the targets, but it's just capturing the moment in time as to where it started and to where it's got to.
Just I wouldn't want to be sort of unduly negative if there was a target that it's because we're looking at a 9-month period rather than what would have been an original 12-month period. So that was just my question. But I appreciate that a lot of these things are ongoing, and they aren't necessarily over in year one. But it's a 9-month report. It's a
9-month report. It captures it for this moment in time, but appreciating some of these will go.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Wayne, can I just move? Is that a clarification?
Yeah, mine's more general than specific.
Okay.
So,
yeah, let's do that.
I wasn't going to dive into any of the specifics, but I've got a couple of things that I think ought really to be highlighted because they're important. The first thing is what's going badly. We're very good at pulling out a report under each heading saying these are the 4 really great things that are happening. But what I'm interested in as a councillor is what's not happening, and I know things in my own world that are not happening. So can we have a way of flagging those up as well? Because quite a lot of them are ongoing, but they might be slipping behind so much that they're no longer ongoing. They're in stasis or something. So can we, when we pull out the bullet points, can we also pull out the things that are going badly? I guess it's the rag type thing. And my other question I'll chuck them both in together, is about local government reorganisation. I feel that that's such a big thing at the moment that there ought to be a section in this that says this is where we're at on that, and this is how it's impacting us, and this is what we're waiting for.
Yeah, so on the first point, Councillor Owain, there is another document which does actually have a column which says progress against target, and it does say if something hasn't been met. That's called, I think, 25 to 26 ADP year of end itemised. I think it may well be in
Appendix 2. Is that right?
Yeah.
It's Appendix 2. No.
So it does. We are transparent. It does say if something has not been met. I will give one example to the group. I think our target on responding to freedom of information requests is 100%, which is incredibly ambitious, and I don't think any council will have hit that. We're at 91%, I believe. But the information is there, so I hope that will reassure you on that one. In terms of LGR, I mean, I think it is a very core key piece of our work. I'm very happy to speak to Councillor Philip Over Rivers about this. It's something which takes up a significant amount of officer time. It's incredibly important, so I think that point is well understood.
Is this a general question?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's very much a generalised question, but looking at the statistics that have been highlighted, and I agree with David that they tend to be the positive ones rather than the negative ones. But just looking at them, I found it quite difficult to judge whether those were good results or not good results, and what the trends were over a 2-5 year period or whatever, just to see, is it getting better? Is it flat, or is it in certain instances getting worse? And I just found that I found it difficult to judge what I was looking at, really.
I think in terms of the trends point, it's actually, I mean, I'd be very open to discussing with officers whether we can, when we do the next report, whether we can look back and make sure that those comparisons are made. I think that would be valuable for the committee, and I'm certainly very open to that.
If I could add to that, so I'd say in terms of the performance dashboards, we've obviously got, this is year one, so where we've been able to capture things from last year to this year, you will be able to start to see some of that. But obviously, like you said, a 2 to 5 year trend pattern, we haven't actually got that. But where it's possible, you can actually start to see where it's plotted out to say what that trend is looking like, whether things are going up, down, or you see the beginning of that.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, I had noted something very similar. I was looking at the report on greenhouse gas emissions. It says it's been reduced, but my question was, what's the trajectory? And I can see here in the detail that is part of the reporting framework, reporting structure. But yeah, it'd be nice to see those maybe pulled out. But as you say, we're still really year one, in fact, year 9 months. Still, but I think we might all have questions. Say, well, is that a good? What does success actually look like? Is that good or not? One home with renewable energy, great, but what were we hoping to have had by now?
Yeah.
Is that all we were planning, or what was the target?
The target is actually, I believe, it goes up until the beginning of 27. So we'll have to wait and see what happens over the period of time.
So the target is for the end of that period, rather than.
So with that, it's not a question of has it been met or not. We will know when we get to, I think, end of Q1 27.
Yeah.
And I would just like to acknowledge that actually they've put in Appendix 2, they put in that table that says whether it's a decrease is a good target or an increase is a good target, that sort of thing. So there is quite a lot there, I think, looking in, and I believe that more details, well, I know that more detail in the dashboard.
I was going to suggest about the dashboard, sorry, because this is a project that I remember working on many years ago, and I'm sure you did as well, when we were in Captain Charles's position, and it's one of those things that you can easily forget about. If we're wanting to ask questions, it's the issue is always people would write an email to an officer saying, can you tell me this? Well, actually, let's put all the information out there so you can find out that information for yourself. And I just think it'd be a good idea to remind councillors that we have the dashboard, and maybe even have a briefing session to show councillors what it has now. What information can be obtained from it. So a little sort of lunch and learn or something that go through. I find that helpful. I'm sure it's
Very open to that, and I imagine Tim and the team will be open for that as well.
Good, so we've got some specifics that we've left ask the government member.
I mean, I'm going to this. I certainly support the historical stuff, but I mean, the great thing is you're going through this and you are picking up areas that look obvious that they need improvement. That's what we're talking about now, isn't it? So, yeah, the person I'd like to pick up on is thriving, healthy and inclusive communities, and the fact we only achieve 66% of food hygiene inspections, which seemed pretty important to me, with a target of 98%. Can we explain that? And probably more importantly, obviously, we get well planned to get that back to 98%.
Yeah, certainly that's a target which we haven't met, and I think it's important that we when I'm back here next time, we improve where we are with that particular statistic. In terms of the specifics, I mean, I would say LGR has again played a really negative role in the ability of us to deliver everything we want to at the speed we want to. But if I'm very happy to ask cabinet colleagues for a specific answer on that.
It just seems really important.
Sorry, I'll be more disciplined in future, but I don't think food hygiene officers have been involved in the organisation.
If I can add a little bit to that, so again, just at the point of publication of this, there's quite a bit of triangulation that has to happen between the dashboards, the information going in, and on that particular one, we've actually noticed, and it was Peter when we had Bale scrutiny last week, that there was, in terms of how it's been presented on the dashboard and how it's captured, there was something like touching behind the system. When you actually look at it and you dive into it, you can actually see the trend of what it looks like. But what it did was it picked an average at a certain point, and the point it picked out was 66%. The actual real data is closer to 166. So we will have that updated. So okay, but that's more breaking news since it was published. I think.
So it's more of a reporting problem.
It's more of a how it's presented. That's good actual thing.
I'll feel safe about going out for a meal again.
Councillor Gregory.
We have a list of ones I haven't been expecting.
Yeah, just on that food hygiene stuff, I've seen some of the stuff on social media recently where where there's like positive news when businesses do well. I thought that was very, very positive, but that's not my question. Just that you mentioned it. Again, mine's on the thriving, healthy and inclusive community. So it talks about the number of visitors to southernoxfordshire.com website, but that our newsletter subscription is lower than expected. I'm just wondering if we could, I went onto it earlier today, and whether there's an opportunity to put a pop-up or something like that to actually encourage people to sign up, because it does look a bit lost. The other thing I was going to say was just on the events. So there's events listed on the website, and I'm just wondering how. So I think people are listing them, but they seem to be heavily in like Didcot and Abingdon. I'm just wondering how much we're involving parish and town councils to list events, or how far and wide we're taking that message, because that will only increase our visitors, because then it will just be better in terms of SEO and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, on the first point, Councillor Gregory, we have actually, I know that the team have been trying to come up with initiatives to increase the sign-ups to the newsletter. I know that they were offering I believe a year's free garden waste collection for those who signed up. There's going to be a prize draw for it. So they're certainly trialling initiatives to try and get those numbers up, and they have been going up. I think the targets here are relatively ambitious, but we want to keep raising that. It's very important, obviously, to have the public involved in understanding what we do and offering their feedback. In terms of the events, I mean, obviously somebody with a ward in the south part of the district, obviously very keen that we do make sure, whether it's in Henley or whether it's elsewhere, that we make sure that everything that is going on we are promoting. And I think we should have to take that point away to the team. Can we be doing more? But obviously they are doing outreach to parish councils already, but maybe there's something else we can be doing. I'm very open to that.
Yeah. Do we also cross promote on our, we've got a residents newsletter as well. Do we cross promote this in there? That makes sense.
To take that one away.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you.
Can I ask a question actually on specifics? So there's a part, I think it's in the climate area. There's electric charging points. We're installing some more, but I noticed we've got an 11% use of these electric charging points. That seems really low. And presumably there's a couple of things. You know, financially we've put them in, and there must be a return that we get from them, and you only getting them percent, that's really low. Is there a case to maybe revise this project in, I don't know whether it be the place whether we actually don't need them as many? It's, I mean, I don't know if you agree that's really low. It seems really low to me. You know, when will we get our payback on those? It's 11%.
I mean, in terms of a reference point as to what happens elsewhere, I don't have that specifically, but I think what we can do as an organisation is try and make sure that we are promoting it as clearly as possible where they are and how they can be used and the availability of them. So I think that's something we can take away, just try and make sure as many residents are aware as possible that this facility exists.
Could I make a comment on that point? Because I'd also spotted the 11% utilisation. I thought, gosh, that's low. But I do also think it's the right strategy. And I know we've had, I've seen overviews on social media, you know, all the car parks are full except for the EV charging points. Why can't we park there? And then other people come and say, yes, but if they didn't provide the EV charging points, they'd be accused of not providing infrastructure that's fit for the future. And I think, and somebody else would comment saying, oh, kudos to South Oxfordshire District Council for actually thinking ahead and putting infrastructure in before the demand grows, rather than the other way around, which is often the case. So I think while it is disappointingly low, there's probably good reasons for it. If they're expensive to use for people, if they're not the fast chargers, they might not be the best solution for people. But I think it's important that we stick at it. And I think you're right that telling people about it, doing more to promote the service and you know, can only be a good thing. And let's come back to see what it looks like next year and hope that we've got better than 11%. Be useful to know what else can be done to drive that up.
I think that's the point I was wanting to make, is that what else can we do to drive it up, but not just that. I'll find out why it's the way of, are they the wrong charge in the wrong thing.
I'm going to make a point on there. And I would imagine it's the same in all of the car parks. The two in Henley, Greystone and Kings Road, you obviously have to pay a parking fee to park there, plus also charge your car. And the number of times I walk through there and there's parking tickets on these cars, would it not just to get this really going, say, look, you know, for the first year, anybody with an electric car, you don't have to charge, you don't have to pay to park in the car parks. Now, surely that would push the numbers up. And then, you know, after a year, if the numbers have gone up, obviously make them pay. But if you're going to give people a parking ticket, they ain't going to come back again. I'll take a bit of it.
Yeah, on the specific point from Councillor Powell, I mean, yeah, I'd echo that. I mean, this administration, and obviously you were a part of that as we chaired before. We're obviously incredibly committed to reducing carbon emissions and to environmental sustainability, and it's obviously very important for multiple parties. But yes, from our side, we're continuing in trying to go faster and further as far as possible on that. I mean, on the car parking point, we did have, I believe only a few months ago, we had a car parking policy that's been through. As an administration, we were very careful to make sure we kept costs to residents as low as possible. We're introducing new digital systems to make it easier to park and not to have to fiddle around with machines. And I think compared to other authorities, we have a very low cost base. Some car parks are not even charging for, and I think our offer to residents is very affordable. And I think we make sure as administration that we look after them well. So I mean, the policy's already been agreed.
Yeah, I rather like Ken's idea of encouraging people to use the car parks with electric cars and not charging them park there and to charge the car. My point's a bit different. On homes and infrastructure that meet local need, strategic housing growth, I'm curious about the numbers. 8,206 delivered to date under the Didcot Garden Town project. How long has that project been going?
I have to speak with my colleagues about specifics unless has the information.
143 years.
Good answer. Because I think it's about 10. Yeah, it's roughly 10 years. So it's 800 homes a year-ish have been delivered to date. But the target seems very ambitious with my knowledge of the housing market, because that's what I work in. I think we won't get anywhere near adding another 7,300 in 5 years, because that's doubling the rate. So, that's 1,500 a year for the next 5 years to get anywhere near that target. And I wonder what your thoughts were on that.
Well, I think we believe there'll be some initiative that will help increase the trajectory on this point. So we're still confident we can meet our targets. Obviously, we are here today, and we're obviously taking on board your points. I'm sure the point you make, House Topping, has been noted by officers looking forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Sorry with me. I was looking at the engagement, the business support area, and the visitors to the southern-oxfordshire.com website. That's good that there are plenty of visitors. Who's the target? I mean, the issue here, that the comment is that it hasn't translated into newsletter subscriptions, but who is that website for? Is it for the occasional visitor to South Oxfordshire, or is it for a business, a local business? Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure what the link is between visiting the website and signing up to newsletter. If I was just going on holiday to South Oxfordshire and I looked at that website, I wouldn't want to necessarily sign up to the newsletter anyway. So, but I don't understand who the target audience is for the visits of an Oxfordshire newsletter. And are they linked?
I mean, the newsletter will obviously be targeted at trying to make sure that as a district we're doing everything we can to help grow the local economy and to bring in jobs and growth and tourism, and that's the bit underpinning it. In terms of the specifics, in terms of how it's being promoted and targeted, I'll have to come back to you on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I would really be quite fascinated to understand that.
Yeah, I've got two questions which are associated with that, and then I won't ask anymore. But the first one is, we have an objective of supporting, helping local businesses grow and adapt. There are 8,000 businesses in South Oxfordshire. The numbers here are, we've supported 17 in improving their sustainability practices and 9 in inclusive economy activities, with a target of 15. That seems incredibly low and unambitious if we're, as a council, trying to support local businesses.
So I think the first thing I'd say is that my colleague, Councillor Rawlins, is very focused on this topic, and it's very important to us that we really do drive growth via things like productivity across the district, and we are working closely with the county council on that, and obviously with whatever administrations will follow. So we're trying to make sure we've got a whole place, really collaborative focus on really trying to drive productivity gains and innovation without obviously going so far that we end up causing any harm to the community, whether that be through too much housing in particular areas, etc., etc. So it is core to the authority's objectives, and certainly really want to do that. And I mean, we are obviously also looking at a business rates proposal, and I'm confident that we'll have something that will benefit many businesses, which will follow in the near future.
But the only other one which was just a point really, which is on engagement. There's a business newsletter, I think it's actually being online news business is only being opened by about 6% of businesses in South Oxfordshire, which seems low. And again, it'd be great to get that number up and get people more engaged with the council.
And I think putting together with Councillor Powell's point, what I wanted to say was maybe have a review of the content and move that.
Yeah.
It just seems to be a bit. I think that some of them, I'm not sure they're something about maybe agenda, but say they work an effort, they're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, on the comms side, I'm pleased to say that the team has been making some internal changes. We're very focused on doing more video and pictorial content and trying to make sure we maximise the use of all the new technology available. And the team's very much focused on making changes to really make it easier for residents to understand what we're doing and to make sure that there are many different channels being used to really make sure we can put those messages out there to help people understand what we're doing as an organisation and how effectively we are helping residents.
That's not coming through on this report, actually, interestingly. So it would be good to see a way of actually reflecting that in this report or the action. That's what's happening.
Yeah, so thanks. I mean, I think I sort of picked up on all the sort of specific little questions I had. I think I would like to congratulate everybody, the administration, Councillor Giles, and the officers for pulling together another impressive report that really, to me, just brings home the breadth of activity at this council and how much we're supporting businesses and residents, and so much good work going on that many people don't always give the council credit for. Some great figures in here. The homelessness prevention, I always brag about that because I think we are just fantastic at that, and it's great to see that pulled out in the report. The resettlement scheme for refugees has been brilliant, and in fact that we've done it more affordable, whether they're affordable or not isn't, but under the definition of affordable housing, we've exceeded the target there. And I've been on 2 of the recent visits that the economic development team arranged at Culham and at Highbury Park, and I can attest to the appreciation of the businesses that were there for the support that they get from the council through. So maybe that it's quality, not quantity necessarily there, Peter, but there's some really good work going on. And I think we have come a long way in the way that we present this information to our audiences, our differing and many varied audiences actually, and it would be very easy for us to be kind of browbeaten or not to feel negative reactions to some of the comments you see going on social media. It's almost like the council can't say anything on social media without being criticised for something. Usually something it's not actually responsible for. And we don't get many people say thank you, council. Thank you for doing such a good job. And I know we in a sense, we're sort of marking our own homework and patting ourselves on the back. But this is a really good snapshot of a high performing council, and I think we should recognise that. And it makes me even sadder that we're not going to be around for so much longer, but hopeful that we can carry forward much of this good work and this focus into the new authority, whatever shape it might take. And I think having the information here, having the dashboards, that's why I'm keen to get everybody really understanding those dashboards better. Having this information will stand us in good stead. I know that officers are meeting on a regular basis with colleagues across the districts and the counties to say, okay, if we end up in this shape of an administration, these are things that we want to make sure we don't fall between the cracks. There's a lot of stuff here that isn't necessarily a statutory duty. There's a lot of things that we could lose if we're not careful in the restructuring. So thank you for pulling us. Thank you, Tim and your team, for putting together such a good report. And we've got a few little queries and questions about it, but I think it does show a good picture, a good positive picture going in all the right ways.
No, thank you. I think it's a reflection on all the hard work since 2019 when the administration then took over from a failing Conservative one, and that was spending far too much money delivering poor services, not being accountable, not really caring for our environment. And I think it's a testament to those that came in and delivered that change over the past 7 or so years. And it's also just a reminder looking ahead that the risks of having such parties such as the Conservatives and reform in local government can really lead to very bad outcomes for residents.
Instead of that, I've got a few questions. not negative, but I think pretty constructive. I noticed that the refugee and asylum seekers housing, the numbers are covered from 2022 up to now, even though this report is of 25, 26. So I wanted to ask what were the numbers for 25 and 26. But you may not know, but I just wondered why it was from 2022. It seemed odd to have.
I mean, I guess it goes back to what Council talked in terms of trying to get where we can capture some of those trends from before. I guess it's good to put those in,
Okay.
see whether,
Well,
again,
I couldn't see what last year's was. It would have been nice to see. It was like since 2022 we
right.
housed this many, I can't remember this, and it's good. It's good. I'm not using it, but it wasn't just report in a way. The Nature and Climate Action Plan line, it says develop a district level action plan, incorporate actions into the annual review. The measure is yes, no, and the answer is no. Does that mean you haven't done that yet?
Yeah, sorry, that was another typo that's been picked up.
Okay.
Correct. That is yes. It has been.
Yes. Oh, that's. I'm quite relieved. I thought you had. I'll get to the completion of equalities impact and screening assessments. You had 100% target, and you only got to 57%, which seems quite low. It's quite a big miss of the target. Is that because the target? I mean, I'm always saying if you miss the target massively, maybe your target is just completely wrong. But you do need to do equality and impact assessment. So possibly the target isn't wrong because you're meant to be doing it 100% of the time. Do you know why that's quite low?
Well, firstly, let me just say that as administration, we're very focused on ensuring that all those with protected characteristics and beyond are fairly treated. Indeed, we try to make sure we can go beyond that and be as inclusive as possible, which is why recently colleagues put forward the motion on, Councillor Rain put forward the motion on socio-economic status to make sure that we go above and beyond for as many people as possible, including the most vulnerable. I
appreciate that, but intentions are good, but this is the proof of the pudding, isn't it? So we want action, not just intention. Yeah,
and I think that's the number we obviously want to try and increase for next time round. But certainly it is a priority for us. We really are focused on that.
Okay, but if you could find out what it is behind that, I think we'd appreciate that, because we can all say that we like to do things, but unless we're actually doing it and we have some proof, then it's hard to keep that up with them, say that we're doing it. What other things I actually wanted to say? The food hygiene we discussed, that's fine, because I have that as well. The number of live tips. So in an environment, I didn't really understand this. So the EnviroCrime data, I can't see that. You have the number of fly tips, and you hope it's because there's a decrease. And actually, in Q2 and Q3, there was presumably an increase, because it's not with 190 target. Is that the idea? Is that the EnviroCrime people do some work and prosecute people, and it's the prosecution and the advertising and prosecutions which stops the fly tipping? Because it's very hard to say that the environmental health team can actually stop people fly tipping. I mean, you can do a bit, but how much can we actually do to stop this happening?
I actually agree with you, Chair, that target should be looked at again, because clearly that's a target that the council can't control. That's essentially a target on the activity of residents, and clearly we don't want fly tipping, and we're strongly against it. We will take tough action where possible, but I think that target should probably be revised to reflect something the council actually has specific control over, not something which is dependent on each and every person within the whole district.
But presumably when this pilot was set, there was a sense that the council can do something, and this is something that needs to be done, but they thought they could do more, which is exactly, because I see it's a great comms on how much fly tips are prosecuted and the fines, etc. That's really, really good. Is that the only thing?
Well, I think the county council obviously run the tips, and they run them in an orderly way, and I think that's obviously also a key part of actually mitigating against fly tipping. But again, that's outside of this council's control again. So that's why I would just say, Chair, gently, I think we should look at that one particular target. I think it's not something that's wholly within the control of the council.
And then fly tipping is sensitive issues in county council brought in the charging. So maybe we should carry on looking at that measure for sure. Yes.
Can I ask a question of Tim?
Okay.
So
Councillor Pam.
This is a question we have asked him previously. When we first came up with this sort of reporting structure, we were very concerned that we didn't want to overburden officers in sort of having to fill in reports rather than actually go and do their jobs. And is the system working as far as you're concerned and your colleagues are concerned? Are you finding is it easy to collect the data you need? Do people begrudge having to fill it in, or are they quite happy to give you the information you need?
No, I would say it's a lot easier. So in terms of capturing that baseline, that's probably where a lot of the initial hard work grunt was actually done at the front end. Obviously, when you're doing things over a whole year's period, there will be another period in terms of being able to collect and make sure then. So as I spoke about before, triangulating that between what goes into the dashboard, making sure it's being presented in the right way, make sure it's being interpreted in the right way. There then has to be just sort of that going back out to the service areas just to clarify and check and confirm. But it is a whole lot more efficient and easier than it was when we initially started this journey that you refer to, going through a 300-line page spreadsheet. We've done away with that element, and it's a lot more efficient now. So I'm saying, any enjoyment.
Good.
Which was the game.
That's all right.
Yeah, can I refer to page 35, which is under financial stability and innovative transformation? On the first slide, it's got the local government reorganisation, which obviously mentions R3 Council, SODC, Vale and West Oxfordshire, and it goes under their digital service and accessibility. It's got over 33,000 residents have signed up to council tax and benefits online portal. Is that 33,000 of all the three councils, or is that 33,000 of SODC? That's the first part of the question. So page 35, SODC. So okay, so then what's the population of SODC?
Second.
160,000.
Thank you.
160. So we've got 33,000 residents to sign up for council tax and benefits. What proportion are they for council tax and benefits? Because I wouldn't want 20,000 people signing up for benefits. Have we got any figures for that?
In terms of those number of people on council house benefits, I assume you're referring to things like single person discount, are you, and things like that, or are you referring to something else?
Are all the 33,000 residents that have contacted council tax and benefits, are they all on benefits?
I'm happy to take that one away and come back to you.
Because if it is, I would be a bit concerned.
I think we can. So I think we can take that away, but I think we've probably got to provide a bit more context to what that's talking about. And I think first, this is an emerging report. So in terms of bringing what it is now, it's not, we haven't brought the final thing together. There will be a further developed draft that Cabinet will be taking a look at. So in terms of further information like that, we'll be able to give a little bit more of the context behind it. I don't believe it's what you're asking is what's the number that's attached to that. I think it's more about in terms of they've signed up to the portal to get information or to pay council tax. That's what I think, but we can delve into that.
So that needs to be refined a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
The next one, external funding, which I think we should congratulate officers here. They brought in £2 million. When I was on Henley Town Council, I suggested that each officer brings in their salary. Because there's so much money out there. It's only a matter of just we're looking where to find it. So you know, is that a low number? Is that a high number?
It's below the target actually, isn't it?
Sorry, the 2 million.
For the
the
external
year.
funding.
No, so again, it might be an interpretation
Okay.
thing on that in terms of it's not in terms of with the officer who works to get those bids in. I think in terms of the targets he sets, he probably is below where he wanted to be. But in terms of the actual amount, I think members would be thinking 2 million is not a small amount of money to help us.
Does that include the £1 million from Homes England for the development on Broadway?
Does it include?
Yeah.
We'd have to look at that then.
It's all part of my hidden agenda.
Well, the funding so does cover housing, and obviously as an administration, we're really proud that we're doing a council house scheme there where we are purchasing and helping residents much in need. So whether it covers the specific of what you're asking, we can check that, but it certainly is including housing in the generality.
Well, I just think there's so much money out there. Well, there seems to be. You know, officers should really, and they obviously have done here. Some officers, they should really be chasing this to see what really is out there for the funding, and maybe bring in their salary, which could be difficult if someone on very high that salary.
Well, we brought in a specific post for somebody to do that, didn't we? As an
Okay, and the last one on customer service, got 81% of calls to the customer service centre are answered within 20 seconds. Is that by a person or is that by answer phones?
I would imagine this is referring to people, but we can certainly have that
You're not doing
verified.
very well, are you? These are basic questions.
Well, I anticipate it's by people. We're very happy to check that for you, but I think it's a very strong performing service. If we're getting that many within that amount of time, and I query whether you answer 81% of your phone calls within 20 seconds.
Is that running council? Just on that, can I just, before I say, just on that point about grants and getting external funding, what I did notice was that the amount is amazing. It's great to get £2 million. But I think what I meant to say was that the number of successful bids wasn't as high as the target. Now again, I think maybe the target is looking at as big. Yeah, some of the bids may be really big amounts of money, some of them are small. So it's if you're not attaining your target, it could be that you're just lazy, or it's because your target's wrong in the general sense. So I would say then maybe have a look at that again. I'm not saying that's all. That can happen.
Actually, and on that, sorry to pick up on that again. I know that when that post was created, a stretch target was set. I mean, it was quite an ambitious target, and I think is it just one person still?
It's one person who coordinates a lot of the grant funding, so it will involve different services, but it is one person that does a lot.
But that was that one that was created.
That's right.
3 years ago or so, something like that. To bring them, and I just query whether would another post? I mean, they're clearly covering their salary costs if that's what they're bringing in. I don't think it was paying anybody £2 million. Is that something? Is that something to consider, or is it another of those things that LGR is going to kind of put the kibosh on and say we can't do that until we've restructured?
Again, as part of our transition work with the council, it's something we can look into in terms of what other people are also doing. But I think we're probably leading the way in terms of actually having a dedicated resource attached to that. That's not commonplace.
Yes. And that's it would seem that it's something that for LGR, for the new council, the councils, something that could be a recommendation. It's a good model, a really good model. Councillor Topping.
I don't know whether I was first or Peter, to be honest.
I was just going to make a point. I have used those call centres services with the resident who had some problems with benefits. And I thought the service was absolutely superb. So it was nice.
Just a couple of things. One was on the scheme, as I mentioned this, Sam, with the Ukrainian and the Afghans. My wife found herself at a meeting in Didcot about something else and happened to meet a lot of the Ukrainian and Afghan I don't know whether you call them refugees, but they've come to our country and being resettled. She had, for decades, she was a TESOL teacher and managed to get recruited, volunteered to teach English. And I do think that one of the best things we can do for anybody arriving in our country who doesn't have English as their first language is to help them with English, because without good English, they struggle to get good work. And she was just a bit surprised that there hasn't been a call for people, and we might quite surprise ourselves how many people there are out there, like, I mean, my wife did it for 30, 40 years, who would be prepared to give time voluntarily, which she has now, to help with the people that we're bringing in and helping out with housing and whatever. But language is equally important, almost as a home. Perhaps a home comes first and language comes second.
I think it's a valid point, but I think it's something for this report. I think it's definitely something that you
Probably
suggested with
and one
cabinet member.
one specific question was on this was on biodiversity. There was reference to a biodiversity unit, and I was curious as to what that meant. I'm trying to find the page now. First one. Yes. Biodiversity net gain and habitat creation. 114 biodiversity units have been delivered through council supported habitat banks. Just wonder what they were. What is a biodiversity unit?
Well, we had firstly, just on Ukraine, I mean, and on the Afghan refugees, we're obviously very proud as a district to be open and welcoming to those fleeing persecution, those badly in need. And I think the council's policy has been a testament to that, providing accommodation and on the point of language services. I think that would be valuable. And if you have people who are volunteering, that's very kind of them. But it should be part of a holistic approach to helping those who come to our country for sanctuary. In terms of the point about biodiversity, we put out a report earlier this year which covered a lot of detail on this, which really showed all of the wonderful habitat and nature we have across the district. And I'd encourage those in this room to take a look at that report, which will cover a lot of these questions.
I have one more comment just on the fact that this is the draft report, and it's going to go through some further work, presumably got this cabinet. It just occurred to me, look at this, where you have things like in housing, planning development contributions, we've got an awaiting data there, and still funding received, we've got awaiting data, and still paid to town and parish councils awaiting data. Just in terms of cycles of data reporting, etc., like that, is that something that is coming soon? Is it something that we can possibly align better?
Yes, I think we've got 95% of the data in here, and I believe a vast majority of what's left is outside of our control. It comes from external factors and organisations. However, you are right to ask, and we should try to come back to you as soon as we can on when we'll actually give you this data, because clearly we shouldn't be leaving gaps really.
And that's very difficult, because at any point in time there'll be there's different cycles on that, the different measures, etc. But yeah, I mean, there weren't actually many whether you're awaiting data, but they're quite big ones.
Well,
yes, so okay.
If I mention, I'll just say those gaps are actually being closed as we speak. So the information on that is being put into a more updated version.
Right, is there anything else wishing them to ask about or think about anything that you might want to come from this onto the work programme for the future? Obviously, don't start today, we can take this away. But otherwise, I think we've got some notes. We're not asked, I don't think we're going to be asked I'm not going to ask you for a specific recommendation because I think we've got the minutes there, haven't we, with the points that we've made. That's all right. And that will be sent up and having to have a look at the suggestions. We know that that's all right. And we don't have any other items.
I think we just want really just to agree that they've reviewed the annual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it says committees asked to review the emerging annual delivery plan. We agree that we've reviewed the annual delivery.
Yeah.
We can agree then. Good. Okay. We've all done that. We don't have any other items, so we can close the meeting. Thank you. That's the task.
Susie, can we stop the broadcast, please?
And